Welcome to the Lindsay And Tony Podcast, where we talk about spirituality, business, and life experiences.
In this podcast, we're bringing our private conversations to you.
We believe that it's through discussion, action, and reflection that true change occurs.
Hi everybody, welcome to episode 68. We know for sure our past loved ones are still alive. In this episode, we're going to share a couple of stories on how we know for sure that our past loved ones are around us. And we're also going to share how it's not something that you could believe, it's really something that you have to experience for yourself. I hope everybody enjoys the show.
Hi guys, welcome back. We're so excited that you're here. Today's episode is all about how we know that our past loved ones have never died. They're still alive and very much around us.
Yes, like we said, we know for sure our past loved ones are still alive. So we both understand and we both believe that it's something you can't really know until you experience it. And we don't expect, if you've never experienced it before, we don't expect you from this one episode to start experiencing it right away. But we do know that it's possible that the more you enter these type of spaces where the energy is being generated around this type of subject, it awakens you. Because I know that when I first started talking with Lindsay before that, I was not connecting in with past loved ones. And then right when I started to connect to that energy, bam, that's when it started to happen. Right.
So if you can just listen to this conversation, it's definitely going to open something in a different way for you. So a lot of people come to us and say, well, how do you receive these signs? And actually it's just being aware, just becoming aware that they still are alive. So Tony and I both have had a lot of losses in life. I feel like you've had more losses in your life than me, actually. But I've worked with so many clients that have lost loved ones. So I have a lot of stories from past loved ones that have come through clients, but I also have my personal stories.
Absolutely. And it's one of those things that the more you hear the story, or not hear, but the more you experience this reality, the more you actually believe it. So it's like, we've been doing this. When did this start happening to you, Lindsay?
I was aware in 2007.
2007, and then me, it was December 2010. So you got to realize this has been going on for 12 years for Lindsay, and what is it, 9 years for me?
Yeah, don't ask math for me.
Going on 9 years for me. So this is a process, and it's like Lindsay said, it's like once you start to open your mind to this, you really do start to see it everywhere. It's kind of like when you get a new car, and then you start to see that new car everywhere, or like you get this, like you'll get a red Mustang, and then all of a sudden that red Mustang is everywhere.
Exactly. And it's funny because I'm thinking when you said, when did I start to witness this? I actually started in high school. So my grandpa passed in high school, but I wasn't fully sold on it, I guess, until 2007.
That's a great point, because when I say 2010, but if I go back in my childhood, I told you that story about I was in maybe second grade, third grade, and I woke up in the middle of the night, maybe 2, 3 o'clock in the morning, and I seen a boy laying on my bed.
Oh, yeah.
And I went to go touch him, and my hand went through him. So
that's freaky.
I've had that, and I've had other experiences because I slept in the basement. That's where my room was at my house in St. Louis. I've had so many experiences to where I felt like, I didn't know back then that's what it was, but I felt like something by me. So I will say that, like a lot of you on this call or on this episode, you'll realize too that you've had a lot of these experiences too before. It's just like, you know, the more you're aware of them, the more when it does happen, you could actually receive it fully.
Right. That's what it is. Because that's like a whole other story, because it's not really a past loved one, but I remember when the tooth fairy came for me. I remember trying to convince people that the tooth fairy really did come, because there was a woman dressed in a dress, and it was so clear to me that she was in my room. But obviously she wasn't the tooth fairy, but I feel like she was a guide looking back on it.
Right. And how old were you at that time?
I don't know. Elementary school.
You've told me that story a long time ago, and I don't really remember the details. Yeah, it must have been like
elementary. I just remember her being in my room, and then somehow I looked out the window, and I don't know why I looked out the window, but I saw her outside too. So,
right.
But it was very real. It wasn't like a dream. It was reality.
So when you hear Lindsay say, she said it might have been one of my guides, that's another thing we've both been experiencing too. Like we've had these other people around us. Like I have people from Thailand, like Buddhist monks and different Indians, and stuff like that, and they're around me. And I know it sounds crazy, or it might sound crazy to people that's never really experienced that, but
Not the people that are listening to this.
Well, some of them too, they might have, most of them, right, they're open to it, but some of them might be open to past loved ones, but they're like, wait, a spiritual guide and all that? Because I know when I first came across it, and you started to tell me about all these spiritual guides and all this, I was like, whoa, let me focus on the past loved one first. Like in my mind, I was thinking that. And then once I started to open up, then you start to recognize, wait, there's somebody around me who I don't know who it is. And then they start to come around more often and,
Right. And I think that's a good point, because with our past loved ones, we know exactly what they look like. We knew what they sounded like. We had memories with them. So there's proof that they were actually living here. But with guides, we wouldn't have seen them before. They're connected back in time, so many lives ago.
Absolutely.
So there's no actual proof unless you look it up after and you find out like the actual name was real and factual after you receive it, which can happen.
Right.
It's actually happened to a medium friend of
mine.
Oh,
really?
She had a guide come through. She got the name. She wrote it down. She did some research and found out it was a real person.
Interesting. See, so I haven't had that happen before, but it's one of those things when you know. So it made me think about the other night remember when we had like 8 people around us?
Yes.
And I knew in that moment, I was like, these are all people that are family. Like there's some of them were Lindsay's family, some of them were my family, and they all came around us.
Yeah, it was like a time where we really needed them.
Yes.
And I was actually saying prayers, but I don't know if I was saying prayers at that point.
Before that.
Yeah, I was saying a prayer. And then all of a sudden Tony's like, oh my gosh, I feel
Yeah.
I feel like there's a bunch of people around. And he's like, who's there? And then he got the name. And then you got goosebumps. And
everything. I had goosebumps, energy was pouring down me, and I felt it.
That.
And like Lindsay, she brought up a good point the other day, how you recognize gender first and then names. And that's kind of what happened naturally. I start to recognize like the 8 people, because think about it, there's 8 people around you. That sounds overwhelming, especially when you can't see them. So it's like, I start to feel like, oh, there's a grandma, and like how old they were and the gender, and then the names started to become clear. But as this was happening, they were all surrounding us, and I felt somebody behind me. I still don't know who it was exactly who was behind me, maybe Lloyd. But they were kind of like moving my head, showing me like there's that. So when I found who the names were, about a couple minutes into this, they were moving my head saying that's blah blah blah, and that's your grandma, and that's Lindsay's grandma or great grandma, and it went down the line, and like I felt somebody kind of nudging my head like this, and it was just very slow, and then
yeah, I was there, so I understand.
Yeah, we were sitting on a bed in our hotel room in Palm Beach, Florida.
Yeah, pretty interesting.
It was.
But, so, I feel like we should go into actual details where they could visualize it too.
Yes.
So let me tell you one of the things that have happened, and I've shared tons of Nick stories, and Tony and I both have stories with Nick, because he's pretty strong when he comes in. He actually came through the other night when we were sitting there and having a conversation with both of us. With his personality.
He did.
So, but we won't go into that conversation. It's almost
we're laughing because it's an inside joke. So we can't share it now.
Which is so interesting that we're talking like...
Hey, stay watching our episodes. We'll share it in a future episode.
Yeah, we will. But it just happened, so we're not going to right now. So I remember when he first passed, I saw him at the foot of my bed. I saw that. That was pretty quick. Like I opened my eyes, I saw him with his hat on and his black Hurley hat. And then I closed my eyes, opened him up again, he was gone. That was one experience. The other experience that I want to share too is the face in the water, which I told you about how I was walking.
Mm-hmm.
I was walking, getting out of my apartment. It was like 90 degrees. I was in a sweatshirt and I was trying to get out of the house. And something just made me just walk every day to try to move my energy. And I was in a good state at that space. I think when I was on my walk, it took me a little bit to get there, but I looked out to the water and I saw a flying fish, it popped up from the water, and I kept on seeing that happening. And all of a sudden I looked down and I saw Nick's profile in the water. So clear.
So the shape of his face?
The shape of his face in the water. Nobody was with me. And at the time I took a picture of it with my flip phone that was a Samsung. But I don't have that photo anymore. but I know what I experienced.
Right. And you felt it too, I'm sure.
Yes, exactly. You might see it, but you feel it at the same time. Like there's no doubt when you recognize these
It's
signs.
not like you're looking for it. Oh, there's a face, and you're like, whoa. It's like it's all in congruence.
It was all together. I saw his face, I felt the love, and I had goosebumps. Like I just knew that it was him, and it was right after the fish flew up from the water. So
that's the mental state you really have to be in to really experience this. It's like a knowing, you're not doubting it whatsoever. If you're doubting it, you might be on point and you're just confusing yourself maybe at that point, or you're just not on point.
Yeah, and some people will come to me and they'll say, well, I had this happen, like I feel like it's real, but is it? And I'm like, yes, it is. And they're like, okay, I felt so too. Right. I felt it too. But when you're new to this, it could feel like you're kind of reaching
or making fun of it. And maybe sometimes you are, but like Lindsay learned and like I'm learning too, the more you tighten up on this,
you just know.
Yeah, you just know, you don't question it
right
as much.
So give us an example of something.
Oh, so I like this example because it's with my brother Mark, and it's not like he's not like he doesn't believe in me and Lindsay, but he's not like he hasn't experienced this shit. So he's not all the way where he believes that, if you know what I mean.
Which is actually a better example.
It's a great example of it because he only is open to this because he knows me and Lindsay, and he knows, so like he knows we're genuine people. We're not going to just make up stuff. He knows us personally. He knows that. So that's what helped him open. So that's a key nugget there too. If you want people around you to open up, you must open up first and then share your authentic experience, and then the people that only you could impact and open up will happen. Like maybe me and my brother, maybe me and Lindsay are one of the only people on the planet that could help him open up to this. But anyways, that's a side.
And it's not even about, and you don't push it on.
No, yeah, it's not about pushing it on. It's about, I look at it because I was a teacher in the school system, so like I look at this as education, bringing more of ourselves to the surface. And I feel like when we connect to past loved ones, we connect to that part of ourselves, it brings a lot of healing. That's the only reason why I say that. And I wouldn't say, no, you could ask my brother Mark. So this is a significant story, and I think I might have shared it in another episode, but I never bring up this kind of stuff to my brother Mark. We play basketball, or we'll go hang out, drive his golf cart around. We do different things and talk about different things. And he asks questions sometimes. But this one particular time, it was like 2 years ago, maybe a year and a half, 2 years ago, I was on the phone talking to him, and all of a sudden, and I'm watching TV, I'm sitting in my living room on my couch watching TV, and I have my feet propped up, and I'm talking to Mark for about 10 minutes, and all of a sudden I feel somebody grabbing my foot. And that's one of my first signs. I'm real big on my body and how I could tell when people are touching me, past loved ones are touching my, either messing around and like touching my butt or my back or just playing games, and that's what happened. I felt it on my toes, and I was like, wait, so as I'm talking to my brother Mark, I'm like, who is this? Simultaneously as I'm talking to my brother Mark, and then all of a sudden, my cousin Brad starts to say, it's your cousin Brad. You need to tell Marky that I'm here right now. And I'm like, as I'm talking to my brother Mark, I'm having a conversation with Brad saying, Brad, look, Marky's not into this stuff. Like, I don't want to do this right now. I'm talking about Mark about a future plan that we're going to do. Like I want to he's 1,000 miles away. It's not like I see him every day. So anyways, he kept on persistent, grabbing my foot. So finally I told Mark, and then it blew my brother's mind. He had goosebumps all over, because of the fact that about 20 minutes or 30 minutes beforehand, he was just talking about my cousin Brad to my mom. So that's the wild part. And another wild part is before I knew that information, because I kept on telling him information at the beginning. So I didn't know that he was talking about Brad to my mom until about 5 minutes into this. And I kept telling him stuff that Brad was saying, and Brad was bringing up. I'm like, Mark, Brad's coming through right now. Is it okay if I say this? Because he's really wanting to say this. Mark's like, yeah, that's fine. And I was like, he's talking about a time that you guys went to some kind of fast food type place and you were buying food for mom. And it had to do with Pete and mom and all that. And I said all these different details, and he's like, that's when the goosebumps start to come. He's like, Tony, you're not going to believe this. I was literally just talking about Brad to mom 30 minutes ago, or he might have said an hour ago, something around. Just recently, like 30 minutes to an hour ago.
And then he kept saying, are you sure you didn't talk to mom?
Yeah, oh yeah, I forgot about that. Then he kept asking me, he's like, dude, did you talk to mom? He's like, are you sure you did? Like, he kept asking me over and over. But that's one story, and I love that story. Those type of stories are my favorite. Like the time when we were at Lindsay's event, and there was a guy, and it's always a guy that comes in with tattoos, and a manly man guy that walks in, and you could tell that someone brought them there. It was like, hey, you're coming here. And there was another time to where he had a breakthrough, he had a reading. So I love the times when the people, especially the manly men, or if you're a female too, it doesn't matter, when they are so shut down from this, and then something happens like this. Like, I call that a miracle.
Yeah. You wanted to say the example of what he said to you?
What
I don't
did he say?
remember what he said. I don't know because I wasn't there.
Oh, what do you mean? Like that specific time?
Yeah.
Who said to me?
With the Messages from Heaven event.
Oh, so that one. Yeah, so...
Because he was sitting in the audience, which I think we've shared this on this podcast.
We did, that's fine. There's a lot of stories. We share certain stories because these are the great ones because it's the ones to where you never would expect it. And it shows that, look, if it could happen for people like this, it could happen, if you're open to it, it's really easy. It's not as hard as like a lot of people, or maybe you might think that it is. Mm-hmm. It's actually just about like right now, like just being open to it. It's like viewing life in a different way, and then you create, a lot of you believe that the way you view your life, that's how your reality is created. We believe that too. We're experiencing that. So this is another sign of that, is when you view your life that way. My past loved ones are alive. They send me messages every day through my feelings, through touching, through physical signs like Lindsay saw in the water.
Oh, I wanted to say something about that too.
Yeah.
So the whole story about the Messages from Heaven was a guy that came there. He was dragged by his girlfriend. His friend that was like a brother came through, gave him a message, and then he talked to Tony after. I think he said he didn't really want to be there, but
yeah, he told me he didn't really want to be there, and he was skeptical, which I understood, but he was like, man, this changed. He was crying. Like, I'm not going to say any names, but he was very emotional, and you could tell it really impacted him, and it impacted me.
Yeah. So, okay, my grandpa, after he passed, this was actually when we lived here, so we lived in our condo, and I was taking a walk. I want to say this could have been like 2 years ago or 3 years ago. And the night before, I had a visitation with my grandpa. And the next day, I went for a walk in the morning. And I was walking, and I want to say there was an actual branch. I actually put it on my Instagram, so it's someplace on there. I'm going to have to look. And if you're on my Instagram or you're not, go to Lindsay Marino Medium. You'll see it on there if you scroll all the way down, so you'll know when it happened. But I saw a branch that was in the shape of an arrow, and then it said, I was here. So I actually had the visitation from my grandpa. I think I saw like a bluebird at the same time, which is one of his signs, saw the branch with an arrow, and then it said, I was here. And I knew, because it was a feeling, it was a seeing, and it was the night before that I had the visitation. I knew it was him, and he was communicating.
And that's an excellent point, is like a lot of the connections could come from, I noticed this, a week before, 3 days before, the night before in your dream. So I think it's very important to pay attention to those types of connections, because it paints the bigger picture, and I think that you get the message what your past loved ones are trying to tell you as well.
Right. I have another story.
Please keep telling.
I have tons of stories, but I feel like I need to share this because it's eye-opening, I think, for people. So the day that Nick died, he had his laptop open, and I came back to the house, and the person that he was living with at the time said, all of a sudden I came home and Nick's laptop was open, and the video of him saying I love you in the video kept on popping up, and it kept replaying over and over again. He didn't leave that video open. We knew. Another thing that happened too with Facebook was a message that he had sent the week before. You know, when you can get notifications on Facebook, it actually came out. I got a notification after he died that he sent it, like he sent it that day, but he really didn't. He had sent it the week before. So these little things that were happening with technology, I'm sure you've had stuff with technology.
Yeah, all the time. They can come through. So we're electrical beings. So technology, they're just portals for spirits to come through, I see. Because you think about it, how many times have your lights flickered? How many times have like our TV just went out randomly the other day.
Yeah, I mean, the lights flickered today during my reading today.
Yeah, so like that, anytime you're using, I hear a lot of people talk about this. I was listening to a webinar by Eckhart Tolle and Wayne Dyer. It was a couple of years ago. And all the electronics started to mess up with their webinar. And Wayne was talking about on there how when higher frequencies are around, and that's what past loved ones are, they're on higher frequencies, electronics start to mess up. So Wayne Dyer and Eckhart Tolle coming together, just them two coming together, started to impact the electronics in the moment. So just your energy here on planet Earth, if you're on a higher frequency, you could mess up the electronics. So think about the past loved ones; they're vibrating at an even faster rate. So absolutely, they could go through your electronics.
Your blow dryer, blow your light bulbs. I mean, that's happened. It's kind of crazy what can happen, but if they want to show that they're around, they will show you in different ways.
So just pay attention to that. Pay attention to the signs all around you. So like different shapes, heart shapes and smiley faces and letters and numbers are really big for me.
License plates. You could see like literally anywhere there's water or shapes or letters, they can use it. And if you think about it, the planet's 80% water. So it's like in your food on your plate, when you get done eating your spaghetti, you'll see different signs. I know when I drink my tea and my coffee, I didn't even know that was a thing. Lindsay just told me that that's like an actual thing that people practice with tea. Oh, yeah.
But I've been doing that for years where I drink my coffee and then on the side of my coffee mug, there's different letters. Like literally one day I was with my buddy and the letters spelt out Poppy. And I felt like it was for him and I was like, so I was drinking my coffee and the letters on the side, when the coffee goes down, the letters on the side of the cup spelt out Poppy. And I felt like it was for him, so I said, hey, what does Poppy mean to you? Or poop? I think I said poopy too, or poopy or Poppy. He's like, well, it is around when my dad passed away and the grandkids called him Poppy. I'm like, that's not a coincidence, you know? It wasn't the day of, but it was like a couple days before or something like that. So there's all little signs like that. You just have to pay attention to it and connect yourself with people who are open-minded to this if you're pulled to this.
Yeah.
It's your life. You get to choose. You don't have to do this.
Well, I'll tell you, the other night when we needed guidance, those loved ones, those 8 people that were around us.
Oh my goodness.
It enhanced so much of what we needed that I don't know what we would do without them. So I would think that anyone listening would want help in their life to know that you're not alone, to use them and use them as like either a sounding board or, you know, an increase in vibration, like whatever you want to say. I mean, they're going to be around you no matter what. Whether you're aware of it or not, they're around. But you might as well use them and get the information that they're sharing with you. And you don't need a medium to do this. I'm talking and saying you don't need a medium, and this is what I do for a living too, and Tony communicates to the other side, but you can do it yourself. Like my passion is to normalize mediumship and let people know that they have this ability. It's just tuning into a new frequency and becoming aware of it.
Absolutely. So we hope that everybody enjoyed this show. We hope that some of our stories inspired you. If they did, share with us in the comments and share with a friend. Share with people that you care about and you love about, and that you care about and you love.
And if you want to watch any of the old episodes, go to our YouTube channel. So you might be watching this on Facebook. You might be listening to it on iTunes or Podbean. Go and subscribe to YouTube, the Lindsay and Tony Podcast. Subscribe on iTunes and let us know. And if you ever want to find the episodes and you're having trouble finding the YouTube channel, just go to lindsaymarino.com and there's a button. There's a little picture that says the podcast. You can see all of the old episodes.
Right. All right. So we will see you all on the next episode.
Bye, guys.
Bye-bye.
We hope you enjoyed this episode as much as we did. If you liked it, leave a 5-star review on iTunes, and remember, subscribe to our YouTube channel too.
If you can think of anyone else that would love this episode, share it with them right now on social media or email. And remember, getting results is a process of learning, applying, and reflecting. Stay consistent and continue to grow every day.